Morning.
Morning.
Hi, Daryl.
Hey, Todd. You did hear me, right?
Yes, can.
Yeah, okay, great.
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, you can't see me, but you can hear me.
And looks like we're recording now. So thank you all and good morning. My name is Melissa Lord. I'm with Clackamas County's Planning and Zoning Division. It is April 1st, 2025, and we are here this morning to talk about a design review application, file number Z0057-25, which is an application to convert an existing single family home into a duplex and to build a new fourplex onto a lot right off McLaughlin Boulevard, which was near McLaughlin Boulevard. So I have a small presentation just to go over kind of a high level overview of the project. Oh, and Rita's got her hand up. Go ahead.
I have an opening statement I typically do
Okay.
for the record, is that I mean, you've covered pretty much what it does, but do we have any people in the public on this call?
We do. We've got one member in our audience right now.
Okay, well, let me do my bit here. That's what you pay me for. Okay, good morning. The Design Review Committee meeting of April 1st, 2025 is now open. My name is Rita Baker and I'm the chair of the Design Review Committee. Before we proceed with the meeting, I would like to let the audience know who we are and explain the process for the meeting. The Design Review Committee is a volunteer committee appointed by the Board of County Commissioners to review and make recommendations on design review applications, referred to it by the planning director. This committee consists of a variety of professionals and community members with expertise in site and building design, including such elements as architecture, landscape architecture, engineering, and graphic design. The process for the meeting today will be as follows. Planning and Zoning Division staff will present a staff report. Then we will have the applicant go over their proposed plans and address any issues raised in the staff report. Next, although this is not a land use hearing, we will provide an opportunity for public comment. The applicant will then have an opportunity to respond. Finally, the committee will discuss whether the application complies with the approval criteria in the zoning and development ordinance or can comply with the appropriate conditions or approval, and the committee will vote on the recommendation. Although the committee is charged with making a recommendation on the application, the decision will be made by the planning director or designee. The planning director's decision may be appealed to the land use hearings officer by any party within 12 days of the decision. If you would like to provide comment, well, we can't have you sign in, but please clearly state your name for the record when you speak. If you would like a copy of the planning director's decision, please provide your address to staff. We also ask that you testify one at a time, speaking clearly, and at this meeting is being recorded. If there's any questions, otherwise, we'll open the meeting for Z-0057-25-D. And please proceed with the staff report.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I prepared a small PowerPoint for us today. We're all looking at my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So as I said, my name is Melissa Lord. My email address is on the screen here, mlord@clackamas.us. If anyone needs to get a hold of me, I know our audience member has been trying. My phone is having some issues, but I'm hoping to get that resolved today. So email definitely still works if anyone needs to get a hold of me until then. But we are here to discuss the design review application. on Mildred Street, which is just north, I suppose, or northwest of Glen Echo Ave, right off of McLaughlin Boulevard. This site is just over half an acre in size. It's currently zoned medium density residential, or MR1. And the applicant is proposing to, as I mentioned, convert an existing single family home into a duplex, making some minor changes to the structure in order to do that. And they're also proposing to build a new fourplex towards the back of the property as well. So I've got a couple of the plans that I pulled out from the submitted application materials, but the complete plan set was uploaded to our website and is available for review, and we can pull open any individual sheets as we'd like to during this meeting to come up. But for the purposes of my PowerPoint, I just pulled open a few of the plan sets. So here's a page showing the existing conditions of the site. As I mentioned, we've got, well, Mildred Street off to the left of our page. The existing single family home is just right here where I'm circling this white box. And then I've added a couple red X's or orange X's superimposed over top of this plan that the applicant submitted. There's two red X's on the screen. One is for a shop or an accessory building towards the back of the property. Another is for another, I believe, shed or garage type of building closer to the front of the property. Both of those will be demolished for to accommodate this new development. I have this orange X towards the bottom corner of my screen, which is a partial demolition. So a small portion of, I believe, an attached garage attached to the single family home will be taken off of the house. The entire structure, for the most part, will be left on site, but there is a small portion of that existing home that's going to be taken back just a little bit off of the street frontage. The proposed site, the applicant did provide us with some very detailed plans for the proposed site, but for our presentation, this I thought was the cleanest drawing. But you can see again, Mildred Street being off to the left-hand side of our page. Along the frontage, the applicant's proposing to provide a 5-foot pedestrian walkway along the street frontage. And then you can see clearly the duplex being right up against the street where that footprint of the single family home is. And then the new structure is the fourplex, which is going to be going in the back towards the back corner of the lot. There's associated parking that the applicant will be providing as well. So we've got a few spaces up by the single family home, and then a few more spaces, parking spaces by the fourplex. There's also bicycle parking being provided in 2 locations on site, and a trash enclosure as well, and the mailbox cluster also. The landscaping plan was provided and specified specific landscape materials that will be utilized to cover the site. At this point in time, there is a small deficiency in the amount of landscaping being provided, but it is my understanding that the applicant will be either updating plans or open to a condition of approval to provide more landscaping to meet that minimum requirement prior to the issuance of a decision. But generally, there's parking lot landscaping proposed, perimeter landscaping between the parking area and the neighboring property to the south or southeast, I guess, down at the bottom of our page here. And then the back portion of the site will largely just be grass at this time. I've provided here for just an added visual. The proposed fourplex building has a mixture of different materials. We've got cedar siding in a vertical orientation. We've got lap siding in a horizontal orientation, as well as some fiber cement shingles on the upper levels of each unit. There's also you can see in the floor plans and kind of the overhead view, there's some variation in wall plane as well with this proposed fourplex building. So it's not just one long flat facade. The where we're at in this process right now, the notice for today's meeting was sent out on March 18th. Today is our design review committee advisory board meeting. The 20-day minimum 20-day notice period technically ends on April 7th, which is next Monday. We cannot issue a decision on an application prior to the close of that period, but we are still waiting on some reviewing agency comments that will be necessary for us to receive, us being my department, to receive prior to issuing a decision. That includes comments from Clackamas River Water, and most notably, I would say, is the County Development Engineering Department. So waiting on some more comments before we can really formulate a final decision on this application as well. We can talk about whatever you'd like today, but a couple of points that I was maybe interested in hearing your thoughts on is the applicant had requested a couple what we call design modifications. So when they've deviated from the standard, for example, one of the standards in our zoning code is that 50% of the street frontage has to be covered by buildings at the 15-foot setback mark. This project is a little bit shy of that, and because the applicant's proposing to build the fourplex further back on the property rather than up at the street, this standard won't be met. Similarly, there is another standard that says if the property is within 200-foot radius of a major or frequent transit stop, there's a maximum setback for new buildings of 20 feet. Again, this fourplex is being proposed further than 20 feet back off of the property line. The applicant's reasoning, it was specified in the application materials, but at a very high level is just in order to preserve the existing single family home, it just makes the most sense to push that new fourplex further back. It allows easier vehicle access and turnaround. And I believe there is some commentary in the application materials about wanting to preserve that, the visual of what it looks like on what the property looks like from the street now, with the home being the first thing you see. They wanted to maintain that feel. So curious on your thoughts on that, but again, we can definitely talk about any of the application today. I have recommended tentatively a decision of approval subject to some conditions, but again, we're still waiting on some commentary from our other reviewing agencies as well. With that concludes my PowerPoint. Todd, as our applicant, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, or if you've got your own presentation, you're welcome to jump in.
Well, I don't have my own presentation, but I'd like to add to yours. Thank you all for being here today. I'm glad we have a quorum. Never know these days. I'll give you a little background on the project. The Manns inherited this property and a couple of others several years ago, right about the time all the middle housing stuff was starting. We went into the county, and this seemed like this was going to be the easiest one to redevelop for them because it was zoned MR2. But now with MR2 zone, it did not get updated like the residential zone, so we get a much lower density than we would in a residential zone. So we're trying to plan for future expansion, hoping that within the next 5 years, it'll allow for a higher density. So we're trying to preserve as much of the back base as we can for future expansion. The frontage has been a struggle because the existing house is too close to the front lot line. The county standards for the roadway actually would dictate demoing part or all of the existing home. This home's been in their family for several generations, and they want to preserve it. And having it in the location it is now makes sense rather than trying to move it, since it does have a full basement under it. So this is kind of the approach we took. Now, as far as the frontage meeting the 50% and the 20-foot setback, we have developed some trellises out there that will cover that 50%. But we also want to preserve maneuvering space and provide safe access to the site. So that's kind of where we came up with the site plan we have right now. The landscaping, Mel pointed out, is deficient. We were counting the entire grass area, but we're only allowed to count 10% in the zone. We discovered that last week. Our landscape architect is working on adding some more additional perimeter landscaping. He said, I just don't want to put a laurel hedge or arborvitae around the perimeter. I want to do something a little more elegant. So we will be able to adjust that and meet that criteria. So I think that's about it, unless anyone has any questions.
I think we'll ask any members of the public to come forward and ask any questions they might have, and then the committee will do the same.
Yes.
Is this Alex Mann? Hello.
Sorry, I might have, I sent off the, I think that's my, my mother Carol on the, line as well. I sent the Zoom link that was sent to me to her. So I believe she's just joined the meeting as a panelist. But I am here. I'm here on the camera. That's me, Alex. The one that has no camera would be, I believe my mother, Carol.
Ah.
Yes, there she
Okay.
is. Perfect.
Okay.
Name's perfectly changed.
I've changed the name, so
Yes.
if it's not
All
Carol,
right.
you'll have to let me know.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, so we have no members of the public wishing to comment is what I'm gathering. Okay,
If our member in the audience does want to comment, if you're able to raise your hand. Oh, there we go. So we do have a hand raised. So let me figure out how to allow. Okay. Doug, you might be able to unmute yourself.
Can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Doug.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what to
could you
do.
identify yourself, please, sir, for
Yeah.
the record?
I am the property owner to the right of the property. I'm 18822 Southeast Mildred Street. I'm the White House behind the Mann property. The one I have the big long hedge in front.
And did you have a question or a comment, sir?
Oh, yeah, the proposed landscape, I'm just wondering how my hedge is going to be affected with this new buildings. And then landscape accordingly to the property. Just kind of know what the kind of trying to see what the plan is for all that.
Well, our intent is to leave that hedge alone, Doug. It is entirely on your property according to the survey.
Okay.
And I'm sure you would like it there for your privacy.
Yes, that's going to be very important because I realize that there's going to be buildings directly behind the hedge.
You're on the right side of the property, the side that the house is on currently.
Yes.
The new building is actually going to be on the other side of the property.
Yeah, Doug's house is on the side where the new construction is going to go up on the again, the fact that it's at an angle is kind of makes it difficult to orientate, but it should be to the northwest.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're on the left
Yeah.
side of the property.
Yeah, if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
if you're looking at the lot from Mildred and you look to your left, that is where Doug's house
Okay,
is.
my comment was incorrect then, Doug. That hedge will be taken down.
Oh,
It is on the man's property. And we needed to push the buildings over to that side in order to get the driveway in, since we're only allowed a single driveway and there are currently 2 drives.
okay. That is going to totally destroy any privacy I had over here. And I really kind of like that hedge, actually. So that's kind of my thing on the how close, so because I see the pins on the ground, so are those the markers that are in the lawn? Are those the driveway markers? Or are they actually where the house is going to be placed?
I am not sure. I've not been to the site since the surveyor set those markers.
Okay. Because how tall is the building?
It's approximately 24 feet tall, I believe.
Okay, and then the hedge will be removed?
The
Entirely?
hedge will be removed, yes.
What about
New
the,
landscaping will be added.
and what about the fir trees that are on the property line? Those are my fir tree trees, they're my trees, the big ones?
They are, and we're gonna protect those during construction. There'll be an arborist out there to make sure that those are preserved.
Okay. Um, I kind of have an issue with the hedge being gone and the big building right next to my house. That's my issue there.
Well, unfortunately, the hedge is entirely on the man's property. And it is extremely overgrown. I think we're putting a new fence up there, and within the next 5 years or so, landscaping will mature and hopefully provide you and the new occupants the privacy that everyone would like.
When is the proposed plan to take the hedge out? You guys that far along yet?
It is, we really can't find a good way to save it and develop the property. And that hedge is encroaching about 20 feet into the property right now.
Remind me what the setback is and what the depth will be of the new landscaping?
Mel, can you pull up the site plan?
Yes, I can. Give me 1 second here. You'll have to tell me which page you want open, but I'm getting there. So this here was, I believe our irrigation plan, but I can flip to any other page you'd like, Todd.
Is there a dimension on that plan?
Yes, let me zoom in. 7.1 feet from back of building to property line, and then the fence along the property line.
And we have a 7-foot setback on that side for a 2-story structure.
Correct.
Okay, that's I don't like that much myself, but because I'm just gonna be looking at a whole side of buildings, and so there's gonna be people looking over my property and my house. What are the so are there windows, full windows that are gonna be looking directly over my property and onto my house?
There are some bedroom windows upstairs there.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna make my whole my existence different. Of course, I've been here for about 20 years. Understand the development. But it was my thought, if we could keep the hedge, I'd be much more willing to, like, it'd make me a little happier to see something there. Because now I'm gonna have parking and it's just good. It's not gonna be a little country setting anymore.
Unfortunately, it is, the setbacks are within what are allowed for the development of the property. And, properties change over time. That hedge is probably 40 or 50 years old at least, and hopefully we'll have something that will grow up again and give you that privacy again. not to the extent it does now, because that hedge is 30 feet plus wide. It's very, very thick.
Yeah, it is thick. I've maintained that hedge for a while now.
So Todd, you guys, so you're putting a fence, but are you also I I don't have the landscaping plan in front of me, but there's in front of that fence on a pro on applicant's side, you're not planting additional trees like cedars or something to that's gonna go create again that screening.
Well, we are only 7 feet away. I don't want to plant new cedars there, but we could do some skyrocket junipers or something like that that would help to buffer that. And that's something that Greg, the landscape architect, was going to actually work on. Initially, we were talking about leaving those backyards at the units open for the tenants to do something, but Greg felt that we probably should plant some kind of green material there along that fence as well.
Melissa, could you put up the aerial again so we can understand where Doug's property is in relationship to the new construction?
Yes, thank you. I'll do that right now.
Todd, how tall is the fence that you're proposing?
It will be 6 feet.
Okay.
And so I believe we're talking about this, this area over here, this particular lot being the subject property, and then this being the hedge in question.
Yes, that's the hedge. Yep.
And Doug's property is,
This one right here.
okay, so where would the new construction be in relationship to his house?
Right about where your pointer is.
Oh, boy.
So that's going to be a sheer wall right in my backyard of housing.
Well, the building steps back. It has some articulation to it. It's not going to be just a tall blank wall there.
But you see my concern with the hedge is basically providing the whole privacy of this lot. And that makes the beauty of my lot is you're in there, so you're kind of in a wooded area with that big hedge there.
Well, that back portion of the hedge right there, we could conceivably retain some of that.
Well, those are all blackberries at the very end.
At the very back, they are, yeah, that I think you'd want gone. But there's probably about a 30-foot section from where the pointer is forward. Right there,
Mm-hmm.
that we could retain some of that hedge there.
So it kind of defeats the purpose of the hedge. It's going to be very back of my backyard, the very back end of the house, the property. So if you put your pointer to my house, how far in from the property line from Mildred over to my house are the buildings going to be located?
About 7 feet.
Right about
No.
there will be the front corner of the building.
Oh, that'll be the front quarter. Right in the middle. Okay.
Correct, right about there.
And I think what I'm hearing is that the survey showed that the hedge unfortunately is exclusively on this property. So they do have the development rights to remove the hedge. You know, Todd, I think I'm hearing you say that there might be a possibility to maintain or retain some of the hedge further away from your home, Doug, further towards the back of the property, but the hedge itself is on their property, so they do have that right to remove it.
Okay, I saw on the notes. The planning, something about a 3-foot potential footing on the property to make more of a definitive border. I don't know if that's an option. Because a 6-foot fence isn't going to do much for privacy with the 22 building behind me.
I'm not sure if,
Acti-
go ahead, Todd.
Most of the activity will be on the main level, and that will give you privacy from their main living areas. The bedrooms up there, yes, you're right. People could look out a bedroom window and look into your yard. It's no different than any other development.
Is there a rear elevation that would illustrate the articulation you were talking about, Todd?
I can pull that open, yeah. That's the rear elevation of this fourplex, and I think we've got, would one of the floor plans perhaps be better to show the articulation, do you
I
think,
think
Todd?
you would.
Okay.
Maybe the upper level floor plan.
Yeah, there we go, upper level. So this is the upstairs here. You know, as you can see, we've got windows in each one of the bedrooms. And then
That's the front side. The back side
Oh.
would be facing Doug's.
oh, there we go. A window in each one of the bedrooms. And then is that right? There's no window in the bathroom?
That is correct.
So it would just be your typical bedroom window that would be visible from the neighboring property on this 2-story home or on the 2-story building.
Okay.
Okay. I think we've definitely heard that concern. Do you have any other comments to make or questions about the project?
Any of the committee members have any questions? I have
No,
a couple.
go ahead.
I have a couple that don't have anything to do with zoning, but
Before we jump into that, Doug, I might turn you back over to I'll lower your hand and then I'll turn you back onto our audience. But thank you very much for your participation.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and thank you. Sorry, Rita, go ahead.
so I'm curious, the 1910 house, as best I could tell, there's been a lot of modifications, but you said, did I understand correctly, it's been in the Man's family for generations since 1910?
Yes, that's correct. My great-great-grandfather owned that one. And my grandfather did, and now it's up to my parents' generation and then me as well.
You're saying, Todd, that you're going to do some restoration work on it? Just kind of curious, I mean, how that's generally gonna go.
Well, the front porch was badly altered. Not sure why, but we're gonna try to recreate what we think was there to the best of what we can determine originally. I believe Carol and Alex had told me that this building was originally an outbuilding on the property. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then sometime probably in around 1920, it was turned into a home. And it's got some quirky features, as older homes do. It was remodeled, I think, in the 1970s last. And had an addition done to the back, which was fairly tastefully done. But the front porch was really messed up badly, and we will be restoring that.
Nice. Well, that'll add to the neighborhood. Just in general, is this market rate rentals or I'm guessing it's not for sale units,
No, it is not
gonna
for
be
sale.
market rate.
market rate, okay. Any other committee members, questions, comments? Daryl, you usually do.
I noticed that you have a big leaf maple, Acer macrophyllum or something, planted here. I know it's a native. These are all natives. We had another project where I'm not sure if it was Oregon City or this county where those monsters are not allowed because they seed and of course they'll grow as big as that parking lot. So I think there's something about not being able to plant big leaf maples. I don't recall. It was another project I believe we had it. Then this would go with and then I assume that there's so many trees and stuff where the new building is that are required along the northern perimeter and some type of screening code. And I imagine that would be also where number 1 is, where the outdoor recreational space where the lawn is. I believe there's no screen in between that and the adjacent property, the northern property. I don't recall the specific codes. Your irrigation is, it seems to be, there's some notes that kind of say something about emitters, but it seems to be all inline irrigation systems, and that's for ground covers. You have shrubs and trees. And so it really needs to be emitters. You know, your trees are going to take 100 times more water than a 4-inch ground cover, and you have them on the same system. So yeah, that's about all I have to say.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, Greg was not able to attend today, but I will pass on the comments to him and we'll see if we can find an alternate for that big leaf maple. And we will be adding some additional screening along that side to get our minimum landscape requirement. And I've already talked to Mel about that and to Greg, and he's working on that.
Tracy, you have any comments?
Yeah, I just had one question. I noticed something about the 24-inch overhang for the roof eaves. Are you planning to just modify the ones that are not 24 inches to meet that requirement, or are you going to go through modification for that?
We have already modified that.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious. Thanks.
No, thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Chedemar?
Hey, Todd, one thing I looked, I don't know, you may run it by ZCS. They're putting a bunch of dry wells kind of next to each other, and I'm not sure if they're they're gonna have to to build that, they're gonna probably excavate a large hole to place them, because they're not just gonna be able to, I think, construct one, have individual holes. So they're all gonna be working together as a one coherent unit. And so I don't know if that's how they're modeling it, or they're modeling it each individual dry well infiltration. So something just to check with them, make sure that that's being, and I couldn't quite figure it out, but maybe they're doing it that way. I'm not sure. Just double check with them.
Okay, I will.
But there's a plenty capacity in that, even if it, in that pond, like 7 feet of freeboard. So if something is off, the water would just pond in there, but that could be a problem for vegetation, and if they're inundated for too long, you could have some die off depending on what's selected within the facility. So just double check that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Right. Melissa, could you reiterate what you said about the final improvement being in April 7th? And because I wanted to be sure that 12 days.
Sorry.
Hello.
Yep,
Um,
all right.
that the appeal period is understood within
Yes.
12 days of the decision.
Yes, so I think typically with design review applications following this design review committee meeting, I know typically a decision is issued very soon after these meetings. This particular meeting was scheduled a little bit sooner within our review process than I think most. And so the county has a requirement to send out notice to surrounding property owners and different reviewing agencies, notifying them of the application. And for a minimum of 20 days, we're not allowed to issue a decision. This 20-day notice period actually doesn't end until next week. So there won't be a decision issued on this application until at a very minimum next week. But to your point, Rita, once a final decision from the planning department has been issued, there is a 12-day appeal period where the decision does not become final until after that 12-day appeal period has passed. And of course, if an appeal is filed within that 12 days, then it goes to we'll have to send it to a land use hearing for that appeal. Did that
Okay,
answer your question?
Yeah, if we could give specific dates, that would be helpful. So April 7th is the first split. And then 12 days after that?
No, so no decision is allowed to be issued until after April 7th. I don't have a specific date on when the decision will be issued because I am still waiting to hear back from Clackamas River Water and our development engineering department on their review of this application. So I don't have a specific date of when the decision will be issued, but I know for sure it won't be until after April 7th.
Okay, well, perhaps you can, and I would encourage Todd and his team to reach out to Doug and see all that can be done to ameliorate his issue. I think you put it very well, Melissa, that basically this project meets the criteria of the ZDO, but we always try to find ways to make compatibility with adjoining properties as good as it possibly can be. So I think, are we ready for a motion? Yay, come on. Oh, look, everybody puts their quiet on. I can't make the motion, so come on. Okay. Come on,
Okay,
Tracy.
I will make a motion. I would like to make a motion to approve file number Z0057-25 with the conditions of approval listed in the staff report. And also taking into account some recommendations from the design review committee for a potentially different style of irrigation system based on the type of landscaping proposed. And also taking into consideration some coordination with the adjacent neighbors to try and figure out some ways to kind of mediate the property line landscaping. So, yeah.
I have a second.
I second.
Okay, Chedmer seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Great.
I do have one question, and this is probably a question for Lindsay and Melissa. Is there any way the building permit can be released for the duplex for the remodel? That work is underway. They're to the point where the building is stabilized and they'd like to start putting it back together and doing some of the structural work that's going to require inspections in the next 2 weeks.
Release, do you mean approved or do you mean applied for?
Well, applied for, yes.
Yes, so you can certainly go ahead and apply for that. You've got both addresses, which is the requirement, I think, just from a programming standpoint.
Right.
So you can definitely go ahead and apply for it. We won't be able to approve it depending on the type of work, specifically for converting it to a duplex, it won't be able to be approved until after this decision is issued and the appeal period has passed. Just because the conversion, I believe, into the duplex requires the design review.
So that would be April 19th, is that?
No, it would just be 12 days after a decision is issued,
Okay,
provided that the project doesn't get appealed.
okay,
But you certainly can go ahead and upload your plans and get that process started. It's
Okay.
effectively at your own risk in case somehow this doesn't get approved. Then you have to go and revise your plans or what have you, but
right.
you can,
Well, I think that one's pretty safe.
yeah.
Time is kind of the essence on that one.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and get that started. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions
No.
before we adjourn?
We have other business and upcoming reviews.
Great.
Go ahead. Somebody. Melissa, Lindsay.
We don't really have a lot of other business per se. I know that some of the terms, the design review committee terms lapsed, and so we're looking to see, you know, who's interested in reapplying, and so we're in the process of running a recruitment to get that all sorted out. And then yesterday, Mel and I had a meeting with Kaiser Permanente. Is that what you were going to say, Mel?
Yep.
Okay, you can take that one away. I don't want to.
Oh, sure. So Kaiser Permanente is going to be replacing the entire hospital at Sunnyside. That project we expect to see come through very soon. So we will be bringing that to the design review committee for your commentary and feedback and questions. It will be a pretty large project, and they've got a tight turnaround on their timeline as well. So it'll be exciting to see that come through. I know that
What are they doing?
they're replacing the whole hospital, Sunnyside Kaiser. Yeah, out with the old and new. So the whole site will
Wow.
be getting redone. Yeah.
I thought I misheard you when you said
No.
replacing.
No, so that's a big one that you guys will definitely be seeing soon. Well, I suspect soon. They tell me soon. And then a smaller project, but still exciting, is we received recently another application for a 12-unit apartment building. So I think we'll be taking that to you folks as well here shortly also. Unrelated to Kaiser.
Yeah, that's
There you
exciting.
go.
Yeah.
Wow, that is. So I'm also on the county's West committee, and we periodically get updates as to what's happening in that department. And for the last year, so I think we only had one hearing last year, but I'm curious as to what the Board of County Commissioners is doing about things like the middle housing and budget issues the department might have. Anything. I've kept up my AICP status, so I thought I could perhaps contribute more, but I haven't heard anything. And I don't even know where I am on the if my appointment's lapsed or not. So I just like a little more communication, if that would be possible with the committee members.
Yeah. That was part of the reason, you know, why we brought this before you today, this project before you today, was to engage the committee again, because it has been quite some time since we've met. And knowing that Kaiser's coming up, you know, that let's meet, let's get together, let's start getting the projects before the committee. I think part of that was over the past year, we went through a lot of transitions with staff members taking positions elsewhere, and then hiring and training, and just trying to get our feet back under us. And I feel like we're pretty stable now with staffing, and everybody's, you know, getting trained up and starting to work more independently. So yeah, we're looking forward to meeting with the design review and engaging more with this committee. And then Darcy Renhard should be reaching out to, I think pretty much everybody's term has lapsed at some point because they're staggered in years. And so We are running a recruitment because the bylaws say you have to like submit an application and reapply, but if you're interested in upping your appointment again, we'll just have you submit your application and then, you know, just like work on reappointing you. And then if somebody doesn't, I think one person has already said, oh no, I can no longer, you know, I don't have the time to do that. So then we'll run an open recruitment for that position. So hopefully that makes sense, but I can read a check with Darcy to see what your term timing looks like.
So she's gonna be sending us an email.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. You know, I'm sorry you've had to deal with all those transitions, but that would be good to know.
Mhm.
You know, just kind of touch base with your committees periodically.
Okay.
So if nothing else, we can sympathize.
Thank you. Yeah, and appreciate the feedback.
Okay. All right. Any other comments for the good of the order? Otherwise, we'll
Ciao.
adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
No.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.